This is not a washing machine. This is the world's last seagoing paddle steamer. But what is it like to sail on her? And how does a sea pilot embark a ship on a choppy day? And what does it feel like when a ship is lowered to pass through a lock? Stick around and all will be revealed. Welcome on board the Waverley. Our journey doesn't start at sea, it starts on the road as we head towards the Park and Ride in Swansea. And this is another first, a 3-seater bus. We're on the bus! And we're off. And in less than 10 minutes we get to see our first sightings of the beautiful Waverley. And it occurred to me that it looks much bigger in real life than in photographs. It was just so good to just stand there and take a moment and admire this absolutely beautiful ship. And I felt an overwhelming sense of privilege knowing that she's the last seagoing paddle steamer. And after a very quick embarkation, we stepped on board. First priority is having a quick tour of the ship. What really stands out on the ship are these huge pillar box red funnels. The ship has a very elegant bar, stocking wines, beers and spirits. As we continued around the ship, we came across the engine room. But I must warn you to mind your head, as many people hit their heads on the ceiling. First impressions of this mechanical feast for the eyes was absolutely awe-inspiring. But wait till you see it in action. There's a quaint little souvenir shop on board selling a range of different things, such as books, fridge magnets, toys, mugs, confectionery, all sorts of gifts and memorabilia, and you even can pick up Waverley gin. I bought a fabulous little mouse mat. There's a surprisingly spacious restaurant available where you can purchase a selection of freshly cooked meals, sandwiches, snacks, soft and alcoholic beverages. There was never any shortage of somewhere to sit, and it was just a nice relaxing place to watch the world go by. The authentic wooden design and original features are beautiful and serve as a constant reminder of the uniqueness of this stunning historic ship. There's a little tea room where you can buy teas and coffees. And there's even a second bar. By now the last of the passengers embarked the ship and everyone settled into their pivotal position for sail away. The weather was luckily dry and warm, so everyone was able to spread out and comfortably find a seat outside. You could feel the excitement of the trip starting to mount as the crew commenced their preparations and the captain started the first of many interesting announcements.
I'd like to welcome you aboard Waverley, the last seagoing paddle steamer anywhere in the world, for today's cruise along the Gower coast, past Caldy Island and the Pembrokeshire coast, and round Scockholm Island to Milford Haven. For your comfort and safety, we ask all passengers to please listen carefully to the following safety announcement.
The captain continued to tell us about how we would be entering a lock where the ship would need to be lowered to meet the sea level. How exciting! And as the crew were making their final preparations, we spotted the pilot. The role of the sea pilot is to oversee the navigation of ships or boats through narrow or hazardous waters. This was really thrilling to watch, but keep watching. Later you'll see the really dramatic embarkation of the Pembrokeshire Sea Pilot. Wow, it was incredible. And as the crew were making final preparations and the pilot got into position, breakfast at the restaurant was being served. We couldn't miss that. As we tucked into our breakfast, we had the most perfect view, and it felt as though we were on board. You really could see all the activity, and it was fascinating to watch. And after tucking into the biggest breakfast bap I've ever seen, it was time to see the paddle steamer engine come to life. Seeing this beauty slowly wake from slumber reminded me of Bagpuss. Watching these huge pieces of machinery slide, rotate and gather momentum was hypnotic. And just look at these huge paddles rotating. By now we had slowly reached the lock and settled into position. As you can see, the water level is much higher than the sea, so we had to be slowly lowered to reach the sea level.
The long entrance to Swansea Docks, to your sternum as the gates will soon swing shut. If you look out ahead, folks, you'll see that the height of the sea is considerably more shallow than the current height in the lock. So over the next few minutes, you'll see the control and water is pumped out to match the height of the sea. Once that's done, the gates forward will swing open and Waverley will proceed out to sea.
We had never experienced anything like this before, so with a brew in hand, we settled ourselves into position. We're starting to drop. This is such a weird sensation. I can actually feel it drop. You really could feel the ship being lowered. And as the pilot waited to take us out, we waited patiently for the gates to open. Excited. Woo! Here we go! Oh dear, I think we need some WD-40. And as the gates fully opened and secured into place, we were off. And we had our first sightings of Swansea Bay. We were quite the curiosity as many boats came out to greet us. And as we waved goodbye to the pilot, we continued our journey onwards. The winds were starting to pick up at this point, but that did not deter our enjoyment of the most spectacular views. It was just so fascinating to see Swansea from a different angle. As I strolled around the ship, you could just see the pleasure on everyone's faces. Our journey continued past the Gower Peninsula, Rosylley Bay and onwards to Caldy Island. We started to get quite a swell at this point, and I have to say it was pretty tricky getting around the ship. And there were quite a few people getting slightly queasy. I really like the sensation, but you really could see quite a few people struggling at this point. I've been reliably informed that eating a green apple really helps with seasickness. This ship has some remarkable history and a weird turn of events which led to its long-lasting life on the sea. This year marks the 50th anniversary of the remarkable circumstances whereby a man called Douglas McGowan purchased the Waverley for £1. Yes, I kid you not, £1 single. This almost unbelievable story is one of true love, passion and commitment, which led to saving this beauty from almost certain destruction. And as a result of this small yet magnificent purchase, the Waverley has grown from strength to strength, drawing in the hearts of thousands across the UK who continue to sail on her. And today, I was privileged to be one of them. By now we had reached full speed, so it was a perfect opportunity to head back to the engine room to watch the mechanics in action. And wow, what a difference from the start of our journey. The heat, steam and the smell of hot oil was incredible. And as the levers sprinted, you could just feel the power. You could feel the energy radiating through your body, and I could have stayed there for hours. Onwards we continued towards the Pembrokeshire coast, taking in the views. And by this point we were starting to get a little peckish, so it was a perfect opportunity to head down to the restaurant. I had a vegetable lasagna and chips, and I have to say it was pretty tasty, and the portion sizes were great. We then headed to the bar for a light beverage, where we continued to sit and watch the views. By this time we had gained our sea legs, so we headed back up onto the deck, where the sun had come out and the Waverley was gleaming. The sea was still pretty choppy at this point though, and we were starting to wonder how the sea pilot would get on board. And as we waited patiently, we finally spotted the sea pilot in the distance. Just take a look at this embarkation. I have to say, everyone was out on the deck and we were holding our breath. Wow, now that was certainly worth waiting for. What an incredible team. Then it was time to relax as we approached the final leg of our journey at Milford Haven. And sadly, this is where our journey comes to an end. Thank you to the 25 amazing crew and the fantastic Waverley. Until next time.